I'm going to feel awful tomorrow.
Why?
I can just feel like it's almost like I get like a cold in my throat a little bit when I drink, and I've just opened another one. So
Jesus Christ.
yeah. I haven't had much. I only had one at the pub, didn't I?
Yeah.
But yeah, funny story. So on the note of the bromeliad, we had
Can you just reintroduce the second part?
part 2 of the Just Swim cast. We return. So back to the bromeliad from part 1. Miyako found she likes ladybugs. She likes all these sort of things. Yeah, little insects, ladybird, ladybugs, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And at my mum's house, she found one in the garden, and we had done a sort of like mid-year Christmas because we didn't do Christmas because of COVID. And she'd been given this tiny, tiny jar, like a bottle with a cork on top, like tiny, the size of like your little finger. Yeah? And she caught this ladybug and took it home in the jar.
Oh, no.
And the ladybug lived in the jar. She gave it leaves and like raisins. Apparently they like those. And it was in there for sort of 3 or 4 days. And I kind of kept looking at this thing and like, I was like, how the fuck are you surviving? Like the cork was on most of the time. I was like, you're still going.
Yeah.
And we also got given a little bucket that hangs on the balcony, which has plants in it. And I said to Miyako, I said, I think we should let little Ladybug, and I've named him Jerry since, so Jerry the Ladybug, I think we should let him out. She struggled with the concept at first, but eventually came round to the idea that letting him go was a good idea.
Okay.
But he might fly away, and I'll miss him, and he'll be good. But it's the best thing to do, otherwise he might die in there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he's been put into the bucket on my balcony, and he's been there for about a week. and every so often when I go to the balcony, I'll just have a little look through the plant pot, and I'm like, he's fucking gone, he's gone. And then at the last minute, I'll be like, there he is, little Jerry. So he's found his bucket, hasn't he? He's like,
how do you know it's the same one?
No, I know it's the same one because I know the spots, and also it's like how many ladybirds are there on my balcony that fly into a bucket? Like it's just
Fair enough.
It's just him. So Jerry the Ladybug.
I really thought that this was going to be Miyako learning about death. That whole story.
She's kind of learned about it.
Hoped it.
It's an interesting one because when my great or her great granddad and my granddad did pass, that was the whole concept of it. And she'd even explained to people that he'd flown off into the sky. And she did have all these sort of questions like, what if she did and everything like that. And it was kind of like, oh God, don't talk about that.
Yeah, don't say that.
But she kind of gets it that they're in a happy place, and that I kind of like, I don't know, it's remarkable the level of understanding she has around these topics. And it's not that my kid is a god. I'm sure pretty much any kid can somehow grasp these topics, but it's like I don't remember anything from when I was 4, but yet they have this brain complexity that can understand these things,
understand complex things.
Yeah, and also sort of see into it a little bit on a level that's beyond what you'd expect.
Right. So this actually leads quite nicely into another topic that I was holding off on, but I think, well, I'm at least sober enough to talk about it now. Which is, and I think I spoke about this in a previous podcast as well, which is where is all the knowledge in the world? Where is it? Right. And I was thinking about this, I think I was in bed thinking about it, because I'm like this. I'm during the night time, that's when my brain seems to be like in its, sort of electrical signals firing off everywhere. And the question that popped into my head is, can knowledge be reduced to something that can knowledge/learning be reduced to a single element that's comprised of a few pieces. That doesn't make much sense when I say it like that, but I'll try and explain it like this. So, learning is, as I said last episode, I think, is a bootstrapping process where in order to learn, say, calculus, like complex mathematics, you need to know the basics of 1 + 1 = 2. But in order to understand 1 + 1 = 2, that in itself is complex. You need to understand the concept of a thing, like one thing of something. The idea of putting those things two together, i.e. addition, and this, the output of the movement of doing. You've got two jugs of water, one in your left hand, one in your right hand. Individually, they are one jug of water. You put them together, which is the process of addition, and now you have 2 jugs of water, right? So the thing that was going in my head is there a way that we can reduce all dependencies of learning to a simple idea, so that, let's say you wanted to manufacture a tin can. What would you need to know? And what are the interdependent links that are required to know in order to make that tin can?
So my answer would be, I was thinking when you were talking about this that it's similar to computers. So my understanding of computers is like binary ones and zeros, ones and zeros, ones and zeros, and they all add up to be different things which can be
interpreted in different
put
ways
together in any different way to manifest it into the things that we have a computer to do today.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean that one computer chip can do everything? No, I mean, maybe in the future. Maybe in the future. But I don't think right now we're at that point. Regardless of the fact if computers are at that point, I don't think you could ever do it with humans. And I think it's because of the layering component that you speak of, and the fact that you'd have to find an understandable equation for all of it, like we tried to talk about life, and it like putting life, the essence of what life is, down to a singular equation. I don't know how you would do that with knowledge, other than to have a concept of, I mean, 1 + 1 would be it. Yeah. 1 + 1 and 1 + 2. 1 + 1 = 2 and 1 + 2 = 3. To start at the bare bones of knowledge, I would put it down to that if you really had to.
So
and as soon as you grasp that, you can do a lot of different things. But the problem is where it gets to how to make a tin can, how to love someone, how to communicate. The spectrum is so vast,
right,
that it's like, I was looking the other day. So there is a type of, the Keccak 239. Yeah, there's a type of hashing function.
256.
Yeah, 256. Yeah, that's the one. So there's a type of hashing function that you can use to create a number that's almost that's never been seen before, and that we don't know how to get back to the root of what that information is that caused that number.
Based on the content that you provided. Yeah.
So, I mean, if you can imagine that complexity can be put into software, I'd say that complexity times 1,000 is the code for life, and it's also the code for knowledge. The layers and the complexities to it are so advanced,
right,
that I don't know how you would compress knowledge into a single lunchbox that you can take and go.
Okay, maybe I maybe what I said was misunderstood, but
Probably.
I
Often.
don't think that knowledge could be compressed into a single thing. However, I think individual pieces of knowledge could be. And so let me just pull my notes up, because I did make some notes when I was in bed about what my sort of structure would be off the cuff. Here we go. Dependencies of learning.
The Book of Knowledge,
Right. So
Part 1.
now the problem is with this is that, and this goes back to what I was saying in the last podcast, which is like this all started from, if you was to meet an alien, how would you even engage with them? What is the common language? The issue that I have with the thing that I've derived from my thinking is that in order to understand what I'm about to propose, you need to understand a language of some sort so that you can read the thing, right? However, let's assume that you have, let's say, English knowledge. What I come up with is a tree-like structure for knowledge, where the root of all knowledge is consciousness itself. So in order to have knowledge, in order to understand anything, a being must be that's the root dependency. That is the first dependency.
Do computers understand knowledge? No, they just show knowledge. They don't understand it.
We put knowledge in.
Yeah. Okay. And we are conscious.
Continue. And we are conscious.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
Yeah. I tried to poke a hole, but you filled it. Go.
So that would be the root one, and that one might have its own exception to how it's, stored in a way. Everything else, I think, could be described by 3 things, which is a verb, so an action, a doing word. So a doing word would be like make or understand or look at or something, or whatever, just a verb, which would be the first required field, basically, if you're filling out a form. The next thing would be a list or singular nouns or objects. So in the idea of 1 + 1, the verb is, well, whatever you want it to be. Let's say it's understand, 1 + 1. You have nouns, which are 1, addition, and equation. Then you have the third field, which is dependencies, required to understand a 1, an addition, and an equation. So you've got a verb, a list of noun or objects, and its dependencies. With those 3 things, can you create an entire tree structure where that is a singular item in the tree, a leaf in the tree, and it is linked to many other things that are the same structure, and describe how to make a tin can if you list all of the dependencies to understand what it takes to make a tin can by using verbs and nouns and a list of that node's dependencies?
I think it's worth giving a go if an alien comes. I think that's probably the closest we'll come to answering that alien question. As long as you could communicate that somehow.
Well, that's the thing. That was a prerequisite.
We won't go back into that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He understands us.
Yeah, they have to. People. So anyway, that it kept me awake for 2 hours trying to think of, and I kept deleting like words, deleting structures that I had made in my head.
God, the poor notes on your phone.
Yeah, my phone, the back.
What the fuck's this guy doing?
Yeah, but it's a very complex thing, and
2 o'clock, go to bed.
yeah, I would love to find a group of people that could discuss this idea further and really ultimately what I think I would love is almost a Wikipedia online called Dependencies of Learning, and it almost be the Bible of all knowledge.
This is like your tree of knowledge idea from back
Kind
in the day.
of, yeah. This is like an adaptation of that.
Yeah.
Is it possible? So Wikipedia,
And then so if I was looking up how to do something, I would be shown the dependencies, and I could click into those dependencies, and I could tick them off as I go.
yeah, exactly,
And I've then got that.
exactly.
And then I could look at my persona, and I could see the different trees that I'd ticked and all this stuff. I'm kind of productizing it now.
You are, but if that helps you understand it, and it would definitely help understand. That's the way I had to explain to my dad.
I
I
don't
had
think
to
the product
productize
would
it.
work, but I think the concept itself, what you're trying to say, does work. I think the only limitation is, once again, the vastness of what you're trying to. I mean, obviously, you've got it down to a principle, so the vastness isn't much of a problem. But to interact with that principle, or to in any way populate that principle so people could use it,
You would need mass help. You would need help from
and
every single
moderation.
person. And
How
moderation.
do you moderate that?
Exactly.
It's just like Wikipedia.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting principle, and perhaps AI and all of that stuff is the answer to populating that.
Maybe. Could be right.
Because humans aren't going to get it right. But if you could have a bot, like, how long would it take a quantum computer to populate that tree?
0.
Yeah, interesting one. It's an interesting one. I think you should don't spend too many nights thinking on it, but you should further it.
They're the things that I don't know. I like.
So when you talked about keeping yourself up at night, it brought up a good old memory of mine.
Yeah.
This is an entirely different topic.
Let's go.
So I haven't done hard drugs in my life, but I have dabbled. Okay. Which I think is an interesting experience for anyone who does. And by hard drugs, I just mean anything that's white and does things. Yeah. or pill or anything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so an interesting story that happened to me once was I went to go and see a friend's gig. It was in London. It wasn't even a friend's gig. It was a friend who wanted to go and see this gig because he was a friend of theirs. And fuck it, we were young, let's go and have a good time. So it was a good old group of us. So J-Ray was there, his girlfriend. People don't know these people, but you know them, Woody, and Billy. And I think Brad and Vicky, but I think they left earlier on in the day, in the evening. But it got to the end of the night and we had to go home. Now, J-Ray was with his girl. Me and Billy were left. So
with his girl or with a girl?
With his girl, who was a girl rather than his girl, but very much his girl. I
Okay.
think it was Lucy at the time. He was like his main love of the time.
Okay.
Anyway, so the old bus comes along to take us back to London Liverpool Street.
The old 249.
Yeah, exactly. And we were in a pretty far out place of London, like one of the weirdest place in East North London that you'd go to for a gig. Now,
Dalston or something.
Even less expected than that. A worse version of Dalston.
Okay.
Dalston, not Dalston. So the bus arrives. J-Ray and Lucy get on. They scan their travel cards.
Mm-hmm.
And me and Billy get out our wallets, take out some change, and the bus driver looks at us and he goes, "No, we don't take money anymore." And we're completely sober apart from some drinks at this time, yeah. And me and Billy are like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "You'll have to get a travel card." And it's like, "Oh, right, okay." And it's probably 12:30, 12:45 at night, or in the morning, yeah.
Yeah.
And me and Billy were like, okay. So we're like, oh, well, whatever, all right. We'll see you at London Liverpool Street, yeah? Just wait for us at London Liverpool Street. Anyway, so we start thinking, all right, well, I guess London Liverpool Street's that way. Half an hour, yeah, we'll get there. We'll just walk.
Yeah.
So we start walking. Get a call about 15, 20 minutes later. J Ray's at the station. He's like, yeah, it's the last train. Where are you? Me and Billy are like, we can probably run. We're only 15 minutes. We can get there in like 7 minutes, like picking up a jog whilst he's on the phone. Like, I was like thinking, fuck, like, what are we actually going to do? What are we going to do?
Yeah.
And yeah, we sort of, after the phone call, ran for about 200 meters, looked at each other, and we were like, it's not happening.
No.
It's not happening. At which point, any sane person is like, right, let's get a cab home from London. It's going to cost about 200 quid, but fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah.
But we didn't. So, meanwhile, debating what we were going to do, lovely chap with a hood on comes up to us, says, oi, you want to buy any MD? You want to buy some stuff? Yeah? You want to buy some stuff? And me at the time, I was like, not doing that stuff. Like, I'll smoke a bit of the reefer maybe every so often. I'll have a drink, but nah, it's not for me. But we were stuck out in the middle of fucking London and we didn't really know what to do. And Billy knows more about this stuff, so I was just letting Billy take lead. And Billy was like, oh, yeah, well. Anyway, so 10 or 15 minutes later, he'd agreed a deal and a guy pops off. He had to go and get it. And then he comes back again. And then we buy some stuff. And this is like a small amount, yeah. Probably got like 20, 40 quid between us, whatever. So Billy shows me the ropes of how to do the old business and to get it in your system. And off we go. We are Londoners. London is at our feet. And we start walking. And one thing that happens when you take MD is you start talking and you don't stop talking. And you don't really care about much else that's going on. And it's an interesting drug in that way. A lot of drugs are kind of, they just fuck you up in a weird way. And I think a lot of people take MD just to go to a nightclub and be, ugh!
Yeah.
But actually there's something else there to it, which is that you just fucking talk. And if you've met Billy is a great guy to talk to. And Billy is a thinker just like we are. But Billy was always on the fringe of he wasn't my best mate, but he was best mates with my best mate. So I kind of was mates with him and we talked a lot, but we would never have a deep discussion because we'd normally be with 4 or 5 other people, but we got the chance to. But one thing that I really remember from this night is we ended up on Millennium Bridge.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we ended up, actually, we were sitting on the edge of the Thames looking at Millennium Bridge.
Fucking hell, you must have been freezing.
No, because we were on MD and drunk.
All right.
And there's one more thing that makes me realise we weren't freezing, which is what happened next. So we're looking up at the bridge and we thought, let's go on the bridge. Let's watch the sun come up. Yeah, let's just do it. Yeah. We've been talking mine for hours. Yeah, it's probably 2:00 now. All right.
Yeah.
So we get to the middle of Millennium Bridge, and at the time, all right, I am dressed in. I'll mention why I'm talking about what I'm wearing, but I used to dress quite provocatively in my youth. So I had a blazer on, a cream roll neck jumper, like leopard print shoes, and the blazer would have had some blue and leopard print pattern on it. I looked like the next upcoming pop star. It was ridiculous. Billy's dressed just like a grunge kid, like having a great time on a night out. So we're standing there on Millennium Bridge, and I had a cigar. I can't remember the make. I think it was a Monte Cristo. Okay, they're nice cigars, yeah, which I used to buy from time to time just for fuck knows these special occasions. And I had one that I'd got from holiday that I'd been on, so I took it with me for the night out. I just remembered I had this cigar, so I light up this cigar. And we sit there and we carry on talking. We talk about everything, our friends, our lives. Where am I going with this story? Well, this man at the end of the bridge is sort of stumbling towards us. And, Billy doesn't think much of it, but I'm a wary one. Like, especially, this is a strange night for me. I've taken some drugs. I'm on a bridge. I'm staying out in London. All I've got is Billy. He is world safe. He knows how to navigate the world. I do not. I am subservient to this chap. But fuck, there's a guy sort of lumbering towards us. What's going on here? So this guy, as he comes a bit closer, I can tell he's homeless. And just like I don't do it now, but I think when I was younger, I'd be very, very wary of homeless people. It's almost like a diseased person would come towards me, which sounds horrible, but it's kind of like a natural, like, and I think I'd put, like, you know, when you're on the train and someone says, have you got any change? Like, sometimes I might give something, but more often than not, I'll just pretend nothing's happening because that's how I deal with that situation.
Yeah.
You know, that's my honest story. I think a lot of people are like that.
Yeah.
If someone's playing an instrument or something like that, I might give them something. It just changes it somewhat for me. Anyway, he comes towards us, starts talking to Billy and me as well. And Billy's obviously, I don't know if you know Billy, but very open-minded, everything like that. So this person to Billy was one and the same, yeah. Whereas to me, he was very different, which I'm ashamed of looking back on, but I think it's an important part of my life, learning this lesson. So this man had a bottle of whiskey, and he said to Billy, oh, you want some whiskey? And so he took the cap off, and Billy he poured some of the whiskey into the cap, and he did a shot. He's like, would you like some? Gives it to me, and I did a shot of whiskey. And we spent the next hour and a half, probably 2 hours, watching the sun come up with this homeless man, all sharing, like, we had this cigar, we had this bottle of whiskey, we had a little bit of MD, and we were just talking and talking and talking. And oh my God, the story of just, like, we would just ask him, so what's your general, like, what's your day's life? And he was like talking about the things that he would do. So, you know, on Tuesdays he would collect a box of Christmas cards or cards and then go and try and sell them in this park. Historical events like riots in London, where, you know, he said there's this picture of me online that you can find where I'm standing on top of a bin with my shirt off and holding this sign that's on fire. And it was like this really special riot. I'm not sure what it was, but it was a bit of an uprising that was going on in London at the time. And this guy just had all these incredible stories about how he'd been living on the street. And, you know, a lot of the time he was, I remember at the end of the conversation when we all had to part ways because we were saying, like, look, we've got like an hour left and we're going to try and figure out what the fuck we're doing to get back to the station. This has been great. And he's like, to be honest, I need some sleep anyway. So we parted ways, but we all kind of had this joint understanding of what had happened on that bridge was like a beautiful thing. And he was crying by the end of the conversation. He said, I can't believe that you've spoken to me and that we've had this discussion. I can't tell you how many people pass me every day, and the discussion is derived from me being homeless, who I am, like the relationship that causes. And two young people have just given me hope tonight because you've spoken to me. And we covered loads of topics, like the fact that he didn't actually mind being homeless. He preferred it. He wouldn't want to do anything different. He had friends, like, and all these different things. It's a completely different world. But I watched the sun come up. I was with my friend Billy, and I was with a homeless man, which I'm sorry to say I've forgotten his name. I might have to ask Billy, see if he remembers it. I'll never meet him again. But, like, that was a beautiful freaking moment. And, yeah, it all stemmed from not being able to get on the train home. And isn't it funny how these strange things happen? Like, I could have just got the train home. We could have both gone home that night. And I remember at the time, I was having, like, not counselling, like, I was seeing a psychotherapist at the time. I had a psychologist, yeah. And I remember, like, obviously the next day after having drugs, you have this massive come down. And for me, I'm a very volatile, emotional person. So I remember lying in bed the next day and just thinking,
what am I doing in my life?
What am I doing in my life? Yeah. And I'd gone from, even at 4 o'clock in the morning, I remember saying to Billy, I was like, dude, like, I don't know about you, but we're in London. We could go to the Science Museum in the morning. Like, we could just carry this on. Obviously, this isn't the first rodeo for Billy. He was like, no, I need some sleep. Like, I need to get back. But I was still ready to go. But I remember the next day I was seeing this psychiatrist, and I had this overwhelming feeling of guilt and everything, and it was just this massive come down effect from it all. But underneath it, I remember when I got over that come down, just lying there and thinking, fuck. That moment was incredible. And I've never really spoken to people about it because I remember the fact that I'd had MD, and that was a big component to what made that night happen the way it was. And I feel this shame talking about drugs. I think it's a weird thing to talk about, quite this, society and everything like that. But fuck, that's a weird one, right?
Yeah, that's a cool experience.
It just, the bromeliad thing got me thinking about how everyone's life is so freaking different. What is your bromeliad? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This guy's bromeliad was different to ours, but we entwined for one evening. Wouldn't have happened without AMD. We'd have fucking walked straight past him.
Yeah. I've had I have had a few interactions with homeless people, like in meaningful interactions with homeless people, and honestly, from the interactions that I've had, they've not been as enlightening as your one, but they're always I just feel like most of the time they're better people to talk to than most other people.
I think to add to that, the interesting thing is we hate them more than they hate us.
Yeah.
And I imagine if I was homeless looking at people walking past me in suits, chucking cigarette butts on the ground with their briefcases and their sandwich in their hand, I would just want to chop their fucking heads off.
Yeah.
But they don't.
No.
It's a really, really weird thing.
They're
really
like
weird.
The nicest people you've ever met. Oh, yeah. No, they're the nicest people you've never met.
Yeah. You've never seen. Fucking weird one.
Yeah. No, that was a nice story.
There you go. Haven't spoke about it often.
No.
Cheers, Mum, if you're listening. Sorry. It was worth it, though.
What are you drinking?
Oh, I've still got this Copperberg. I'm on the second Copperberg now, and I'm getting to the end of my Copperberg capacity. And I'm like, almost sipping on it for something to do.
Yeah, yeah. I've doused myself with about 3 pints of water. So
it's weird. There's not a pill you can take that just fucks you up alcohol wise. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Well, why can't I just buy a pill that gets me like 3 drinks fucked? Yeah, imagine
I suppose you could.
You go into the bar. It's like, how much is 5 Jaeger bombs? Fit for £10. All right. Well, I'll just have a popper instead, and then they give you a little pill for the same price.
Yeah,
it wouldn't cut out the industry at all. Actually, no, it would, wouldn't it? That's why.
Yeah, it would fuck the industry
because the bars would start selling the things, and then maybe maybe you can make a Copperberg pill. Tastes a little bit like Copperberg in your mouth. I don't know.
Tell you what would be cool is, I don't know if you've seen them, but it's like a water-based plastic, I suppose, not plastic, but a water-based packaging that is injected with water, and you can essentially eat the whole thing. They should sell them.
Oh yeah. The bubble. Yeah. I've seen those things.
Instead of just like.
So we haven't really done a big podcast on drugs, and
there's lots to talk about with drugs.
I think, yeah. I mean, the biggest one for me is just this idea of hallucinogenics. I can't get over it. And I remember the first time I ever tried weed. The reason I did so is because Jake Panesar told me that he smoked it and he was walking down the road and all of a sudden he just saw a giant fucking chicken in front of him, and it was so tall. It was like 3 houses on top of each other, and he just couldn't get past the chicken. And I was thinking to myself, whoa, I want to see a fucking giant chicken. And I remember smoking weed and I was like, okay.
There's nothing.
No giant chicken. All right. Feel like I want to throw up. Yeah, I used to do this thing where I'd close my eyes and my head would like loll backwards, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? But the best thing was that I could close my, especially the very first few times, I would close my eyes. And do you know Monty Python?
Yeah.
You know the intro scenes when the credits roll?
Yeah.
Like cartoon animation and everything like that.
It was like that.
I could close my eyes and I could see a duck, and that duck would start flying, and then there'd be a ring that it would fly through, and the ring would be on fire, and the fire would be the shape of a demon, and all these amazing things. I could just close my eyes and see anything. And I think that that's kind of like the tips of or the beauty of what kind of marijuana taps into. It should be a creative thing, but many people don't use it like that. But there's a lot of other things like that I really just am so curious about when I listen to Joe Rogan talking about mushrooms, ayahuasca, LSD. What's the other one? What's the one that's
Truffles.
No, not. It's kind of like LSD. I think it's just a different version of it.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not that well versed in.
I think it's the same ingredient in ayahuasca, anyway. But yeah, DMT. Boom.
DMT.
There you go.
That's the one.
Fuck. I just want to watch a video. I'm too scared to try these things, but I just want to watch a video that just like, this is what it's like. Every September when mushrooms start growing, I always think,
Mate, there's you got Thetford Forest right next door to you when you move house.
Is that a hunting ground?
It's just a fucking huge forest, isn't it?
Do I really have that next to me? I haven't even looked at the fucking map, mate. I just like the house, I like the garden, and I like the general local area, but I've got no idea what's near me. There's a zoo nearby, apparently.
I think Thetford. I mean, you're closer to Thetford Forest than I will be.
Zoos are pretty fucked up.
Thetford Forest. Where's this? Yeah, it's literally next door.
Is it? Great.
Yeah.
Go for a walk in the forest. Nice.
Centre Parks.
Centre Parks. Is Centre Parks nearby?
I think it was in Thetford Forest, isn't it?
Wow, I can go on the water slides with Miyako. That'd be good. Actually, I think it is, because, I think it is quite near there. Yeah, Elvedon Forest one. That's got a great swimming pool, that has. It's got a really good swimming pool.
Could be.
Yeah, I think it is, actually, because Claudia knows she's got some Asian friends out there, which will be good, that work at Centre Parks.
Anyway, I'm sure there'll be... I'm sure there's a whole fucking group in Thetford that go mushroom hunting every fall, every autumn.
So not an element of, scared, when you think about it?
About what?
Well, I mean, there's one thing about drugs, which is all the stories that you grow up reading when you're at school, which is if you take drugs, you will die.
Yeah.
You would die. Die. Oh, alcohol's fine, paracetamol good, but if you take drugs that aren't those, you will die.
Yeah.
So there's kind of that. And then there's also the other side of, especially things that are hallucinogenic, the main thing is it's kind of like a trip inside of your psyche. And I feel like there's some shit down there that I just want to fucking keep there. But I reckon that it's like an email inbox. You need to click and clear it and clear it and clear it. And once you clear it, you can achieve clarity. And it is useful, and you should go through that journey to achieve that utopia. But I've got too many things like people rely on me, and I rely on people, and I don't think it's fair to suddenly go on I remember there was a guy I played DayZ with who...
should be able to take an annual leave from life, shouldn't you?
Yeah, I'm taking a mushroom leave. But one thing I remember I played a game with this guy who had tried it, and he'd done it a few times, and he said it's life-changing, and he recommends doing it. But one thing to remember is that you will come out of the other side a different person, and whilst that might be great for you, it might not necessarily be great for the people around you. Which is an interesting one, right? Because your perspective on life changes. You start to question things. It's similar to when people who have counselling or they go to see a psychiatrist. They feel angry about things, and then the psychiatrist says, well, what's the relationship like with your parents? And then you're like, yeah, maybe I should just direct all of that anger at my parents. And then you're like, I'm angry. And then the next time your parents say something like a bit of advice like, oh, maybe you shouldn't do this, maybe you should do this, you're like, well, maybe you should just think about your own life inside. You know what I mean? It kind of affects things. And I think that's the only problem with it is yeah, sure, if I was 18 and someone gave me a bag of mushrooms, then yeah, let's see what it's about. But I don't know, I struggle with it a bit. Still that fear. Whereas you can, I know you've got Liza, but you can have all the mushrooms.
I guess I'm just not as curious. I think the curiosity I have with hallucinogenics would be more about, not necessarily about unraveling things that I feel I can't unravel in normal life. It's more about because I'm generally not too much of a creative person. And I would like to understand whether hallucinogenics would lift that side out of me, or whether or maybe I'll find out that I'm not creative at all. And maybe the hallucinogenics would make me, you know, almost superpowers in terms of things that I can do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it would be interesting. Also, put the drugs aside. I was just thinking, it'd be interesting to do an exploration of creativity between you and me. To say, like, we did a video where we just have an A4 piece of paper in front of us, half an hour, and a few colouring pencils, or to write a poem or something silly like that, and just to see what we came out with on the other side, and to see the difference between how I approach it and how you approach it.
Yeah.
I think you'd be surprised with the output, but I think it would also just be surprising to see the different processes. It's like today, for example, I sat down and I wanted to write about the wallet at work, which is a piece of technology we've made, and I spent maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I wrote pretty much what I'd consider to be an essay that I could hand in at university, about 4,000, 5,000 words. And I read it back the following evening. So I did it 2 days ago. I read it back the following evening. And I was reading it. I was like, because I was a bit embarrassed to kind of send it to my work colleagues. And I was like, reading it in my head, and I was like, this reads fucking great. This reads fucking great. And I don't even know where it came from. It's just there. And then I sent it to Josh and everyone. Everyone was like, this is fucking great. And they loved it. So I think that's going to be used. But I guess the main point is that something just clicks within my head where I just find a groove, and it's not me writing. It's like this just other thing inside of me. And I'm not really there. And I'm not saying you don't have that. I'm just saying it'd be interesting to see how you find that space, how you get there. Or maybe if you just have to logically approach it and write a poem that, like when I wrote that song the other day, where the syllables don't rhyme. Yeah, I just can't imagine. I really can't imagine that. And I think
so. I guess
it's really interesting to hear about.
Yeah, my creativity works best when there are known,
you need boundaries,
constricted bounds. Yeah,
so interesting.
A blank canvas is useless to me.
Really, really interesting.
I can't
So if I gave you a piece of, imagine in your head right now, you've got a piece of paper in front of you. I want you to draw something and tell me in 5 seconds what you're going to draw. Just say it now.
Probably a human figure.
Yeah. What's he doing?
Just having a wank. No,
that's what we do.
Just, yeah.
Wanking our way through life.
I guess so I think it would probably be a female.
Female
figure.
wanking?
No, not female wanking, just a female posing, probably. But I'm not very good at poses anyway.
So I wonder why you wanted to draw the female.
So I've been deprived of sex for over a year.
The long distance relationship.
Yeah.
Pains for that, mate. Has its perks though. Just like going without porn. When you get back to it,
yeah, it'll be dynamite.
But will save lives of the embarrassment.
Creativity for me. I remember when I was younger. I need stimulus in order to. I need a catalyst in order to. Not only a catalyst with bounds, in order to stimulate something creative within me. So, me trying to, make a song. I would. If I was looking at a blank screen, I would be looking at a blank screen for a very long time.
And that's why a lot of the time when you tell me you've made a song, you say, "Hey, I've made an electro funk song." And you've
exactly,
taken inspiration from that groove, which gives you a narrative to go at. So,
exactly,
I mean, one thing that'd be interesting is to look at minimalism music in the sense that, like, when you go to draw that drawing, you put 5 words down on a piece of, or 6 words down on a piece of paper. You roll the dice, and it chooses wood. You have to draw something made out of wood.
precisely. I need those bounds.
It's not to say you're not creative. And also, that process of rolling the dice is creative. It's just a different way of doing things. And maybe that ends up, God knows what the end product is. It might be amazing. You just have no idea.
Right.
But it's an interesting muscle to train.
So yeah, right. So taking it back to hallucinogenics, that's the thing that I think I would like to explore. Where the question I have within me that I think hallucinogenics could unlock.
Does it pull back that?
Exactly.
Does it pull back that veil? Yeah, sure. And in a way, it's similar with me. Like, I'm curious if the fact that I don't have a similar veil, that I had this, like, not limitless, like, outpouring of just like I call it shit, but it's like a waterfall that just comes out of me. It's like you could just get anything. Doesn't mean it's good. Like, I can't draw for shit, but I can always tell you what I'm gonna draw. I wonder if I was to take it, would I suddenly just like, would my trip be just this incredible thing that my mind is capable of, but I'm not capable of doing because I'm trapped in this in this world in front of me. Like what I said when I smoked weed, and then like I could see the duck flying, and then I just went on this journey in my head. Like, I just wonder what that would be like. It'd be fucking mad.
Yeah.
Don't know. There needs to the whole problem with these drugs is that they're so phobiaed in society that no one really feels safe doing them because they're not accepted. It's almost like it's a taboo, isn't it? So when they say, "Oh, well, when you do a trip, you need to really like make sure your head's in the right place." Well, fuck! I'm starting from 5 foot underground. You've told me this shit's dangerous.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Can you imagine? You swallow it, and you're sitting there like humding, don't feel anything. Oh,
Yeah.
heart starts
Already
pumping.
in a bad space.
Oh,
Yeah.
like, oh god, fucking nutty. I don't know. It's a risky business. Don't do drugs, kid. Don't do drugs. You got anything else left in the tank?
Well, guess we could always
give you some boundaries.
Yeah, give me some boundaries to talk about.
I need to talk about this.
I don't know. I think it's an interesting thing though to like. I think we've got two perspectives on how creativity is sparked within us. Be good to see what
push some experiments on that.
Yeah, push some experiments.
So I'd fucking hate it if I had to roll a dice and someone told, like, do you know about, like, I've got to draw a tree. Why the fuck do I have to draw a tree? I'd be sitting there like thinking, well, I'm going to draw a fucking Christmas tree, surprise you. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Okay, give me 2 seconds, okay, because I had something in my head.
Goldfish.
Goldfish. Can't remember goldfish. Does hardship make a person stronger?
Yes.
If so, under what conditions and at what point is hardship too much? If not, what does make a person stronger? Well, I think it's obvious hardship does make a person stronger.
So there was a good quote from it was either the ruler of Dubai, I think it was the ruler of Dubai, Al Maktoum, said that I need to get this quote because I really don't want to misrepresent what he said because it was a brilliant quote. It was either rule of Dubai or Tough times create strong men. Strong men create easy times. Obviously, he's not just saying men. He's referring to humans.
Yeah.
But,
There's going to be a lot of tough times ahead in that case.
well, so what I take away from it. So here's the full quote. Sorry, here's the full quote. Quote.
Yep.
Tough times create strong men.
Mm-hmm.
Strong men create easy times.
Mm-hmm.
Easy times create weak men. Weak men create tough times. Many won't understand, but you have to raise warriors, not parasites.
Yeah, man, that's the whole thing at the moment, isn't it? So if we think things are bad at the moment, the generations in control were the people who had like the start of things getting easier.
Yeah.
Hopefully things are hard. Like things seem pretty easy right now, especially for a generation. Like I know we talk about how our generation is like, oh, we don't have many jobs. Oh, it's hard to do all these things. But the access level to gratification and enjoyment and all of these things makes it almost like, well, dude, what's the fucking even trying to run the world in the future and make sense of it?
Exactly.
We've got everything we need right here.
Which I guess is partly one of the reasons why I think I look at Southeast Asia and I see that as paradise over there.
Yeah.
Because
The
they
grind.
are in a grind at the moment, and they will be a strong country when they
care
come out
about
of
each other, and they're united.
Yeah.
It's fucking. You look at the average Joe over here. There's no connection because you don't need each other. You don't rely on each other.
Yeah. Here we go. Here's an extension. Sorry. My father was on a camel. I'm in a Mercedes. My son is on a Land Rover, and my grandson is going to be from Land Rover, but my great grandson will be back on a camel.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. It's interesting, this whole idea of cancel culture and like everyone crying in the media about like, oh, what we should be talking about, or women needs rights, people needs rights, bees needs rights, freaking insects need rights. It's almost like, dude, my granddad used to walk around the towns with a bull, and he would go to all of the farms, and the bull would fuck the cows, and he would go back to the farm, and then he would slaughter some sheep and some goats. And he was, 13 years old? And he didn't grow up in this world thinking, oh, this ain't good enough, we need this, we need this, we need this. Everything he had was good enough. As long as he had his family, as long as the world kept spinning, he could tinker away, everything was good. And now we're stuck in this world where we've got everything we need and nothing's good enough.
Yeah.
Another one I've been thinking about is, should humans have the same freedoms that animals have? I was questioning, are animals freer than humans? And then, of course they are. They can do pretty much whatever they want until we drive over them with our big cars. Apart from, obviously, the animals that we keep in cages and stuff like that. But on the broad spectrum of it, a squirrel that's outside of my house right now, rummaging through the bins and climbing up trees, does whatever the fuck he wants.
Mm.
What would it be like if humans were like that?
There is no law. There's no... It would be... that's the kind of the idea of chaos theory, right?
Well, it's interesting, though, because I think with animals there is a law, isn't there? Is there?
The law is survival.
And that has its laws. It has unwritten laws.
Yeah.
Now, you don't see foxes just fucking, oh, there's another fox there. Should we just beat the shit out of each other?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, but they do it for a primal instinct purpose, yeah?
Yeah.
But the grand scheme of it isn't, oh, look, there's a field. Look, all the foxes are fucking fighting again today. No, yeah. You know, they're doing main stuff, like maybe 1% of their life is fighting, not even that.
Yeah.
You know, I reckon we'd get along just fine.
Depends
It'd
what
be interesting,
you
wouldn't it?
define fine as.
Island with no rules.
Yeah, I guess it depends how you define being fine. It's like being fine would mean that
If
you're
we
in
didn't
tribes.
have rules, would we have our own? Would we make our own that were unwritten? Would we
Yeah.
just know them? The 10 Commandments, all that shit.
I think you would end up. I think basically the way I look at it, that question is what was it like before we started mass farming, like we were in tribes. There may be a leader. There may be the older generation were the leaders because they had the knowledge. And there would be kind of not rules, but like understanding between each other that we need to do certain things together in order for us to have offspring and therefore continue the tribe. I think there is a bare necessity of kind of unwritten laws that we all understand. I mean, it sounds really nice to get away from the idea of no longer having to feel the needs of all the overly sensitive retards of the world. I'm gonna beep that bit out.
I think you can use the words retard, can't you?
No, not really. The fact that I've even said overly sensitive is.
No, I think it's fair.
Retard is French for backwards, therefore.
No, retard is the
late.
Is late, yeah.
Yeah.
So I used to go into French class, say, sorry, I'm retarded.
Retardé.
Used to think I was a right freaking genius. Page 36. Activité 2. That's all I remember from French class was when she used to put the cassette tape on and it said that. That's it. And then it used to go, Je m'appelle William, j'adore les foot, je déteste les calculatrices. That was it. Sometimes there'd be a girl as well. I think we should rattle this one down to a close. I think we've done a great job. As long as you're in agreement, say aye.
Aye.
But yeah, thanks for joining us today. We can't always promise you a straight 10 out of 10 episode. I think this is around a 7 or 10, 7 or 8 maybe. But we have had a little bit to drink first. But one thing I would like to close this on is I dropped Woody home from the pub today and was in the car. It was late at night. And as he was waddling off to his house, I started to drive away. I had this overwhelming sense of, you know what? We're doing all right in life. And what I mean by that is, I've known Woody for 5-6 years now, maybe longer.
5-6 years?
As a friend. Is it longer than that?
Well...
8? I mean, I've known you, but I've known you for 7, yeah? Let's give it... I've known you for 7.
Where does that take us to?
That takes us to...
2014.
2014, yeah.
No, it's earlier than that.
Yeah, but what I mean by that is I've known you, yeah. I mean, I've known you, but I've known you for around 7 years anyway. So I had this overwhelming feeling of like, there are plenty of times where I've dropped you off at your house or where you've dropped me off at yours. And I was driving away that time, and it's been a while since I've done it. And it was almost like a father dropping off his son. I kind of drove away. And I was like, you know what? Like, whatever happens, like... we made it, and I don't mean this. Right. I don't mean this career-wise. I don't mean this financially. I don't mean this happiness. I just mean in general in life. I think we're asking the right questions. I think we're doing the right things. And if you're joining us here today, so are you. So thank you for joining. Good night.